I've been stuck on your memory, but it's not like I need it. And we may have some history, but we don't have to repeat it. You made this mess and left me
way down. And in theory, I think we are live, gentlemen. So anyone who is watching, let me minimize our sound stuff.
I think it's still showing that you're streaming custom card, but...
oh, that's because I did not change that. Let's edit the stream info. OBS Basic Bootcamp. Done. I always forget that thing. Okay, so it's me, Jourdo here. We're streaming on Twitch. Oh, look, Monkey's here. I'm also joined.
Hey, Monkey.
I'm also joined with. There you go. That's Ryan with me from CR Gameroom, and we have our own Reg from DM North somewhere.
Hello, everyone.
I'm invading. I'm everywhere. You can't get rid of me. I'm like a bad case of herpes.
That's right. So today
we're properly social distancing here.
That's right. That's right. So
I'm staying in Texas. It's okay.
Yeah, and we're cross country here, opposite sides, so we're all safe. We're all safe here. So what we've decided to do today was a lot of questions have come up recently about OBS and how to record or stream games. So we thought we'd kind of put together a really basic boot camp tutorial of how to get yourself up and running pretty quick here. So that's kind of what we're going to do.
So yeah, I mean, some of this we're going to go over real fast, which is just your basic setups of OBS itself for streaming. Then we'll get into a little bit more specific for, Dice Masters specifically with Jitsi. Then if we've still got a little time, we can touch in some basic scoreboard controls.
That's.
I think we may deal with scoreboard controls in a later one. We won't get into the full automated type solutions.
No.
Today, that's just
today's
way
just
too much.
Yeah, today's just your average player who's coming in, says, "I want to record a match. How do I do it?" So let's get you up and running on that. Do we want to cover just Jitsi, or do we want to throw in a Hangout there, or just it's the same concept?
I mean, we can do it with Hangouts. It's the same setup. You're just changing the URL you're going to. So. Yeah. I'm going to focus on Jitsi just because that's what we're going to be using. That's what we've used in the last couple of tournaments, and that's what we're using with the EarthX Origins. So
I think it's the way I would probably go if it was me, just because. Well,
and I'll when we get to the point where we're entering the URLs, I'll remind folks that if they're wanting to do it in a Google Hangouts, this is where they would change it. So
yeah. Sorry, I'm just.
And I think we did a brief. I think Monkey's in the room right now. Not sure who else is in. We went through the basics of it yesterday, and it didn't matter. It was just to the point where the source is where you change it. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we jump over to our tutorial screen, which is actually very blank right now.
Yep.
And it's still there. Perfect. So what we've got on here is Ryan's.
So this is as close to a basic, fresh, clean install of OBS as I can make it without losing all my stuff. So
yeah, that was the tough part because we've all got our setups, and Ryan has helped me immensely to get mine where I want it, and I was too scared to actually clear anything out and erasing hours and hours of work. So he kindly volunteered to share his.
Yeah. So the first couple of things I want to point out, we didn't really touch on this yesterday during our stuff, so I really wanted to start with this, is the use of profiles and scene collections. So what these are, profiles is basically, think of this as how you're controlling of your output. So anything that you control under settings, this is a profile. So you can create multiple multiple settings in different profiles and switch between them very easily. So you currently can see I've got for when I stream to the CRGR on Twitch, if I'm just doing a local recording, or if I'm streaming to my personal Twitch channel. So you can very easily, if you're just wanting to test a new setting, what I always highly recommend, say we're on my personal one, I can duplicate it and I can give it a new name. especially if I can spell tutorial.
Or test works too. It's nice and short.
Yeah, test. I can't seem to get my fingers to work today on that word. So, and so everything on this test is the exact same as it was on my other one. So now I can come in here, make whatever change I want, and test it out, and not have to worry about messing up my previous setting. Or if I truly just mess something up, I can delete it. So I always say delete. It's remove. But the other big thing I like to point out to people is you can export and import. So, I've got my settings exactly the way I like them, and I'm very happy about it. But, OBS is kind of a pain in the butt when it does updates and whatnot. So I can create an export, I can save this off wherever I want, and then at a later date, I can come in, and if something's messed up, I can come in, do an import, point to that file, re-import it, and away I go. So it's a good way of keeping those settings easy to switch between, especially if you're going to multiple channels, or even more so, you notice I put 1080 on these. That's, so I'm knowing what canvas size I'm capturing at. If I wanted to do one that was for 720, which on my older hardware I did, I would have the same thing but for 720, so I could easily just switch between those.
Okay, but your average person's probably going to have one profile for the most part.
I recommend two. One is if you're just doing local recording, and another one is if you're going to be streaming.
Okay.
Yeah, I would suggest two. One if you're streaming, one if you're not. But most people, if they're not streaming, they only need one.
Right. So, and then scene collections is kind of the exact same thing, except it's controlling your scenes and the sources in those scenes.
So what's the difference
kind
between
of
a scene?
these down here.
How would you differentiate between a scene and a source?
Okay, so a scene is like right now, Jourdo is showing you a scene which has a single source of a screen capture of our Discord chat. And I'm sharing this over Discord video to him. So in a normal Twitch stream, let's give it, you would tend to have your starting source or starting scene. You would tend to have your gameplay scene and a ending scene, when you end your stream. Sources within those can be shared between scenes or just isolated to that single scene. So we'll get into a little bit more once we start building scenes and adding the sources to it. But the sources are the individual elements within a scene, and the scenes are what's going out to the user, on the stream.
Yeah.
So again, you can see I've got multiples here. I've got, for when I'm doing CRGR, I've got a testing one when I play around with different settings. Live stream is if we're just doing our talking heads type setup. And then, of course, I created one for tutorial, which is, as close to the beginning setup as you can get. So when you start OBS and, install it and start it for the very first time, it's going to ask you to go through a wizard. I just say cancel out of that. You're welcome to go through it. We're going to look at the settings after the fact here. So
you're doing, are you doing a setup for a record? Just maybe recording's the best way to do this, right? Because that's
initially this could be used for either or.
Okay.
So everything is going to kind of be set, but I'll point out where the stream specific settings are and the recording specific settings are. So under general, there, the only major thing under general that I personally like is under the source and alignment snapping. I like to enable that at the edges, to other sources, and the horizontal and vertical center. This just helps really much for trying to get things lined up, and you'll see that a little bit later when we start adding some things to it.
That's a huge pain, is the lining up. Well, at least without that.
So the snap sensitivity you will probably want to play with. 10 works well for me. I know other people like it to be a little bit tighter. Other people like it to be, snap a little bit sooner. So play around with it. The other one is not in here, so we'll get to that in a second. But those are the main things under general that I really like to look out for. I like the dark theme personally.
Yes, yes, there shouldn't even be a light
when I'm
theme.
streaming, I don't like that bright white of that screen looking at me, so I recommend it. Excuse me, but not necessary. You can do the open stats on startup, but I'm going to show you a better way, in my opinion, to integrate the stats. So it's again personal on that one. Under stream, this is where you're going to be doing most, the initial setup for it. So again, most of us stream to Twitch, but you've got all the other ones in here as well. Again, we're going to stay focused on Twitch. I highly recommend, as they say, auto is recommended. There are tools you can download and use to test against all the different Twitch ingress servers to figure out which one is going to be the fastest and all that stuff. OBS has kind of integrated that in, and so the auto figures that out for you. But if you are having problems, you can come through the list, and here's all their global ingress servers, and you can pick the one you want.
I will be honest.
I'm lucky I've got one here in Dallas.
I've never once even clicked on that. It just auto's always worked for me, so.
Yeah, auto is 99%. So the next thing is, you'll notice I have mine already linked to my account. So
yes.
You should have a button here that says connect account, and you'll have to go through your two-factor authentication with Twitch. Twitch now requires two-factor authentication to be enabled on your account before you can stream on your account.
It's a pain in the ass, but it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% behind it. I've seen people have issues getting their account linked, and it's always come down to the fact they didn't have two-factor authentication enabled on their account. So I want to point that out. So this right here is very good when you are starting out. This is the enable bandwidth test control. If you check this, then what's going to happen when you go to start streaming, you're going to get an error message coming up letting you know you're in test mode. You'll agree to that, and it'll start your stream. But no one will know you're live on your stream. The stream itself never gets saved to your account or anything like that. It's ingressing it into Twitch, and then Twitch is dropping it on the floor just to give you analytics to make sure you're not dropping frames, everything's good, all that stuff. It's, again, testing your bandwidth, and your computer's ability to process the data to Twitch. So we'll get into that a little bit more, but this checkbox only will show up if you've linked your account. The other method you can connect to Twitch is through an API key. For most of you, you're not going to need that or use that, but if you use the API key, this checkbox will not show up. And so there is another method that you can get that. There's a command line option you can add to your API key at the end of it to tell it that you're in test mode.
I think that's above and beyond
it's
us
not
average
as pretty,
guys.
It's not as fun. Connecting your account is the best way to go, and you'll see why here in just a second, because you see it's got the Twitch add-on chat. So if I click apply, no, I turned them off to default my view. But if I go to change my scene collection to the game room, of course.
I used to have that working, and then it stopped for some reason. I'm not sure why.
I changed the wrong one. I changed my scene collection, not my profile. So you can see I've got the stream information, I've got chat over here, things like that. All of this gets integrated into OBS if you link your account. And I'll show you how to add that back if you've lost it. If you accidentally closed or whatnot, we'll get into how to add this stuff back.
Yeah, that might be an after stream.
Yeah. So
advanced bootcamp.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be next week, guys.
Yeah. So that's basically what you're looking at in stream. So output is really where a lot of the meat and potatoes start to happen. You notice even I leave mine on simple. I can go into advanced and I know what 90% of those settings are, but there's no need for me to tinker with those settings in our scenario. It just doesn't need to happen. I leave mine at simple. So you'll notice here we've got a section for streaming and a section for recording. So this is kind of where you would make your changes. So if you had one that was optimized for streaming, you would have settings that were in here. And if you had one that was optimized for recording, you would have your settings in here. So starting off with streaming, video bitrate. This really comes down to two things that you need to worry about. what your internet bandwidth is, specifically your upload speed, and what size you're trying to transmit at. So, 720p, 1080p, 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second, things like that. Twitch has a maximum ingress of 6,000 kbps unless you are one of their partners. And I doubt any of us Dice Master guys are going to be partners anytime in the near future. So 6,000 is the absolute max you should ever put in for your video bitrate. For 1080, 30 frames per second, 3,500 is actually all you need. A 1080, 30 frame per second stream is roughly 3.4K in size. So 3,500 is really the max you need. This gives you a little buffer room, not a huge issue. This part right here is kind of either the make or break for older machines. The encoder. Currently, I have it using software, so it's going to use my CPU to try to encode that 1080, 30 frames per second into Twitch, stream. Your preferred method, if you have it, is to use hardware, though. Whether it's NVEC or I believe it's OAC is the other one if you're an AMD hardware. So if you see hardware in the drop down there, you want to make sure you use the hardware if it's there. This offloads it to your GPU, your video card, to send it out. If you've got an NVIDIA card, I highly suggest you make sure you use the NVEC one. They have spent a lot of time in the last 2 years optimizing that software, the driver into that. It is insanely awesome how much workload it offloads to the GPU. You can get away with a much older processor in your machine with a decent video card if you just change it to the hardware. Audio bitrate. For us, since again we're dealing with Jitsi or Hangout rooms, we've got audio compression going through there to begin with. So we're not dealing with high quality audio, so the 160 default is 100% fine. If we were doing a spoken word podcast with 3 people in the same room and stuff like that, we might want to up it to 192 or something. But again, we're dealing with compressed audio to begin with through the games, so not a huge issue. And again, you can enable the advanced settings and go through and change that. That's a lot more helpful if you are in software mode and you're having to change the priority of the task on your CPU to optimize. So I usually will tell people to, if they're having any issues, change it from quality to performance. Okay? We'd rather get the frames up there versus making the frames look pretty. I think all of us would rather, see a continuous stream versus a choppy stream that had very clear pictures.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So in that point, if you're having issues, if your hardware is not able to keep up with it, and we'll show you in a little bit how to see if that's happening, you can go to the advanced settings here and change it from quality to performance. So again, for me, since I have the hardware, I don't need to worry about that. Under recording, you want to say, have a location that you're saving the files. And I actually need to change mine because this is actually from my old computer that I imported, and I don't have a W drive. So
I use an external drive that's just gigantic, so it'll store all that crappy video.
Yeah. So, I changed mine to, I've got CR, where was it? Monthly tournament, because those are usually the ones I am recording. I prefer no spaces in my file names when it creates it. It just makes it easier to sort, but that's a personal preference. Here, because this is this profile is really meant for streaming with recording as an option, my record quality is set to the same as stream. But you can, again, set it to where you've got high quality and combine the two if you really want. But again, this is where I talked about having 2 separate profiles. One that is optimized for recording, one that's optimized for streaming. So as we're focusing this on a streaming one, I would leave my record quality same as stream.
Yeah.
The drawback to this is in this nice orange warning right here. You cannot pause your recording while the stream is live.
Makes sense.
You know, if you change this to high quality, now you're running, basically it's running a second process of OBS in the background, and it's recording through that one. And so you can pause the recording while the stream is still live and all that stuff. The only time it's an issue is where it's the same as the stream, because it's running it through one single OBS process, just outputting it to the two different sources. So again, I'm not going to get into a huge conversation here, because again, we're talking more about streaming, not recording. But
the
you've
concept,
got your different formats, and
the concepts are the same, like for the
yeah,
most part.
the concepts are very same. It is much easier for your computer to record than it is to stream, and that's because when you do a stream, the data has to be in real time. Whereas recording, you can buffer it for a little bit to get it written to the disk, and it's not a big issue. So again, I always recommend starting off with recording, and then once you know everything's good, you can kind of move into streaming. But I usually just say leave them both the same. That way the recording you have is kind of very similar to what the experience would be for the people watching the stream.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. It just keeps my life simple.
Yeah. Now, if you're going to be taking the raw recording and uploading it to YouTube later, and you've got the horsepower to spare, you can get a much higher quality capture, as a simultaneous recording and all that stuff. That's advanced class. But
that's also, I find with Jitsi and Hangouts, like your video quality's not really.
We're limited
end.
there, and I was going to get into that in a little bit. So Jitsi and Hangouts and most other of your video sharing applications are a 720p stream, and we're of course streaming at 1080, so there's already a little bit of a upscale going on there, so your image is not going to be perfect, and so
but I think for Dice Masters it's good enough, like what you're looking for.
For Dice Masters it's absolutely perfect. I'm not complaining there, but again, trying to take that 720p and then upscale it to 4K to upload it as a high quality thing to YouTube later, that's where you might run into issues. But again, if you're doing a marble stream or something else, that's a totally different thing, and you may want that, especially like if you start using the replay buffers, things like that.
Dice Masters for the last year, I've left it at high quality medium file, and I've had no issues. There's been no issues with, whereas I used to have feedback problems where it used to have buffering stuff. Lately, high quality medium file I would tell people to start with. It's going to create a smaller file too when you upload to YouTube if you're doing it inside of it. When you get into streaming, get a better computer if you know.
Yeah. So again, the high quality medium size file is, out of the three on this list, is the lowest quality. It seems weird. High quality is your lowest quality. Your lossless quality, tremendously large file size, is basically the raw video. That's going to be an insanely large file size, and most of us would never have a need for something like that.
I think I did it once. It's almost triple the size of what the large or the
I think it's quadruple the size, but yeah.
I think it was like a 1 hour gameplay. I think is like 1.5 gigs when you upload, and I think when you go to that one, it's close to like 8 or 9. I looked at it going like, wow, it's gonna take forever to upload. So
again, if you really are, like I said, if you're doing a marble stream, or you're doing, a game stream of a different, Legends of Runeterra or something like that, where you've got a much higher quality source that you're coming from, not Jitsi or Hangouts, there might be some benefits to that, but again, this would be for capturing a small clip from your stream to upload to YouTube later. Your VOD, your video on demand type stuff. So that's here. And like I said, this is, I'd say 70% of the issues I come across helping people is making a change in one of these two sections. Usually what happens, people go into advanced, they try to tweak something really, specific and whatnot. And it's one of those, let's just bring it back to simple. Let's let the the experts who created OBS know very well how to get this stuff up to Twitch properly. Let's let their engine figure it out. Use their presets, and it's worked out very well for us. So
Okay, so that covers. Well, we have
that covers the output.
Yeah. So the
So,
probably the most
audio.
important part.
Yeah, this is where most people run into problems with their stream. They get the audio echo.
Yeah.
Jourdo, I know last week, or was it 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago it was bad.
You and I were fighting so hard on this one, and I think I finally figured all of it out. But the first thing I mentioned to Jourdo when we started working on his, and you'll see this on mine, is I do not trust these settings in any way, shape, or form to be anything other than disabled.
We found that yesterday.
100%.
Yeah,
I want 100% control of every bit of audio coming into my source or my scene. I don't want OBS to make decisions for me. The only one that I set to anything is under the advanced monitoring device. And this is, we won't really even get into this today, why we do this. This is in the, not even the advanced, but the masterclass type stuff. So other than that, I recommend you kind of leave it alone unless you're an audiophile and you know exactly what you're doing. But the 44.1 kilohertz on stereo and have everything disabled.
I'm really hoping we're not echoing right now, because that would be embarrassing.
It really would be, yes. Maybe Red should, mute us here in Discord and double check the audio in Twitch.
I mean, mute that, and then I'll go listen to it. Just one sec.
That would be hilarious.
That...
That'd be. We'll end the stream right there, because obviously we don't know what we're doing.
Yep. Egg on face. Why are we talking about any of this? So we're gonna stay here for a little bit, wait for Reg to come back and make sure.
Or anyone in the chat, if we're echoing, please let us know, because it'll just get worse from here. Audio's fine. Thank you, Michael.
Okay.
Okay. I just had that,
Yeah, no, I'm glad you thought of it. So. But this is the reason why we're looking at my settings on a completely separate machine.
Yes.
That's not streaming up. Yes, you can run multiple instances of OBS on your machine to capture one and blah, blah, blah. We're not taking that chance here.
Yeah, that's originally that's how we set it up. I had 2 OBSs running, and I was just too scared. I was terrified of hitting.
Yeah, Jourdo and I spent probably 20 hours, a week or two ago, getting his all working, and neither of us really want to have to go through any of that again.
No.
Good job. I'm sure they already just said that, but sounds good.
Yep. So next is video, and this is probably for the simplest screen that you're going to get, the one that's going to have the next biggest impact. So a lot of people don't understand what base and output resolutions are. Your base resolution here, your base canvas resolution, is the resolution of this black box behind me here. So I'm creating a 1920 by 1080 or 1080p canvas for me to draw my scenes on. And then I'm going to output or send that up to Twitch at this resolution. So for me, I'm sending it the same.
Yeah.
This is where you can, if you start having some little issues, what you can do is you can come in here and say, okay, I don't want to have to redesign everything. I've built everything at 1080, but let me change it down to uploading to 720. And so now your machine's not having to do nearly as much work, because you're downscaling that. Once you start downscaling, this next part becomes very big concern, is how are you downscaling it? So you've got bilinear, area, bicubic, and Lancos. I'm not going to get into what exactly each of those is and how they work. The big thing to remember, you can look at, is how many samples it's taking. So you can see this is basically just taking one sample and going. Then you have 4, 6, or 9 samples, 16, and 36 samples. So the idea is the more often you sample, the better it's going to look, but the more processor intensive it is. So even though you may be going down, if you go to Lancos, you may actually be taxing your processor more. So as I'm not, again, I don't normally, run with a downscaling. I don't care what my downscaling is. I leave it, the default is bilinear. Bicubic, if I do ever use it, is where I set it to. It's kind of that little sweet spot. I get enough samples that I'm able to clean up the image, fairly well, and don't make it look really bad. But it's not taxing enough on the processor that it's an issue. And then this last one, you've heard us say 30 frames, 60 frames, all that stuff. This is where you set that. So again, you've got a lot of different, in here. For us in the US, NTSC, if you're over in England, PAL, that's, your standard TV transmission. If you're dealing with raw video from an actual like camcorder or, a movie camera, things like that, it's officially 29.97 frames per second. But everyone doesn't like saying 29.97. So everyone started saying 30 frames per second, and computers tend to work better at just that raw 30 frames per second. And then you've got, for higher resolutions and stuff like that. So for us, again, because we're dealing typically with Jitsi Hangout rooms, those are limited as 720 30 frames per second, and our Logitech web cameras are 1080 30 frames per second. So again, all of our inputting video is at 30 frames per second. We wouldn't gain anything by trying to go up higher than that. So for us, we leave it at 30 frames per second. Again, if you're doing a Legends of Runeterra or a Marble stream or something like that, you may want to up it to 60 frames per second, but do remember that's going to add additional load to your processor. Yeah. And so we'll talk about how to monitor that later, but this is an easy way. If you do go to 60 and you're having problems, you can lower it to 30. If you're at 30 and having problems, you can lower it from 1080 to 720. All just trying to breathe a little life into getting that stream up.
Yeah.
So next is something we'll cover a lot more in
that might
the
be
advanced class.
Yeah, I'd say this is advanced stuff. So I'd skip that.
This, it's here. There, you saw it. Let's move on. Under the advanced settings, there are just a couple of things that I recommend that you look at. First and foremost, is sources, enable browser source hardware acceleration. You want to make sure that is enabled. Without that enabled, some of the stuff we're about to do is just going to fall flat on the floor and flop around like a dead fish and fail. So you need to make sure that that is turned on. Next, because we are a chat heavy type scenario, we're streaming a game and we're interacting with our chat. We want to make sure we do not enable a stream delay. So if we were if we're running a live unboxing or something like that, that may be something we want to do. Or if we're interviewing someone and we, they might drop some F-bombs and we didn't have our, adult content, setting on there. Again, this gives you that momentary, you can just quickly shut your stream down before, the nip slip happens or anything like that.
Yeah.
We don't need to really worry about
Canadian that. Up here, we don't swear. We don't do that stuff.
Never. I've never sworn on stream or online.
I don't even know what swear words are.
Oh, see, you guys must not watch our, late night streams. We're cussing up a storm, making innuendos all over the place. It's all bad.
But having said that, Twitch does have a delay anyway, like you.
Twitch has a built-in delay, so there's a couple of things you can do there. Their default delay is around 20 seconds. So you can add an additional delay on top of that is what this is. Okay, so what this is doing is it's processing the data here locally before it even sends it to Twitch. Then once it's on Twitch, it's up there. But once it's up to Twitch, it's really hard to hit that emergency, dump button and cut off your stream. Yeah. So this is basically saying for 20 seconds, it's staying here locally on my workstation before it even sends it to Twitch. And so if something happens, I have, I can come down here, click my stop streaming, and it's done. It never left my machine to go up to Twitch for me to get any strikes or anything like that.
Yeah.
now you'll see I've got some things here under network. This is me playing around with stuff. I recommend you leave the network completely normal and don't change any of this stuff right now. So this is a do as I say, not as I do moment. Don't look at mine saying I'm doing, Ryan's doing it, I should do it. No,
Ryan
I'm
does
testing some stuff right now.
Ryan does a lot of things none of us should touch. Like, just leave it alone.
So I just wanted to point that out real fast. The other thing, and again, we didn't talk about hotkeys, but in the advanced class, we'll get into this more. Under here, there's you want to set that to never disable hotkey. So hotkeys are fairly simple to understand. If you want to get ahead of us and not wait for our advanced class, just make sure that's set.
Yeah.
So all of that is, again, a profile. So I can save this, and now I've got my profile, this Ryan Slater Twitch 1080p profile set. If I wanted to, Jourdo said, hey, Ryan, I want you to stream on, DM North real fast for us. Instead of making changes to this profile, again, I would come in, I would duplicate it and say DM North Twitch 1080, because that's my naming system, come in here, I can go into settings, I can come back here to stream, and I disconnect my account, and now I can either put that API key in there or connect the account, and Bob's your uncle, I'm good. And now I have it as a separate profile in here that I can use, and I still have my original one. So I come back to Ryan, go to settings, output, my account's still linked. Okay? So that's
awesome.
the power of using those profiles.
I realized that, to be honest with you.
Okay? So again, everything that you set here in a setting is part of your profile. So again, that's why, I have a couple of them in here. When I'm playing around on my personal one. I don't play around on the game room one. I can come in, now Jourdo doesn't want me to do it anymore. I can remove it. Boom. And I just lost that one. Have a good day. So that is configuring OBS to send out.
Yeah.
Now, what is it going to send? Because right now we've got a big black blank screen. So first and foremost, I always recommend we come up to scene collection and say new, because you're going to start off with just a default one that's called Untitled. So you can either rename it or create a new one. I like to create a new one, and then I'll come back and delete the Untitled one, but that's just me. So I created one already called Tutorial, and you'll start off where it's got absolutely nothing other than a single scene. I don't even like that single scene. Okay, it says there has to be at least one, So I recommend we create a new scene. And as I said, you're typically going to have at least 3 scenes. Start. We'll rename this one. Rename. Notice it's renaming it down here. It didn't come up with the name there as I was creating a new one. Stop. And then we create a new one and match. Okay? Those are the 3 that you need. Okay? You don't need any more than... You can get away with a lot more than that. And, Reg, looking at yours yesterday, you had a scrolling down list of them. This is where scene collections would start helping you. So you could create a selection for your lumberjack, a scene collection for your death match, and things like that. And keep them a little bit more organized.
Yeah. Whereas when I was doing mine, I had it each one. I renamed it Death Race, No Capture, Death Race this, I can totally organize it a lot better.
Yeah. So the next thing I recommend in your scenes is organize them in the flow that you're going to potentially use them. So your starting should be at the top. And so you've got your arrows here to move the order. So I want my start at stop. I want start at top, my stop at the bottom. So it's just going to be a natural progression as I switch through these throughout the stream. Okay. Again, as we get into more advanced stuff, you'll get more scenes added and stuff like that. And there will be some, times where you'll go back and forth between a couple. But I always kind of like that flow of I'm going from the top, trickling my way down to the bottom. And part of the reason for that is when we get to scene or sources, because again, I've got these scenes. Great. They're still all black and doing nothing. The sources, again, this is the canvas. This is the art and the paint that we're putting onto that canvas. So typically, we're going to have our Jitsi room. You're going to capture that Jitsi room. So I already have a Jitsi room set up off to the side. So the basic thing you're going to do is you're going to come in, you're going to do a window capture. Now, try to be descriptive in your names because you are going to be able to reuse these names within the scene collection. And if I just leave this as window capture and then I have window capture 1, 2, 3, 4, later on, I may not remember which one is doing what. So I will call this Jitsi player. Whatever, I will usually put player 1 and I'll explain that here in a little bit why we would do that. Make sure mark source visible or make source visible is on. Otherwise, I'll show you what it doesn't do. I add it. Now it wants to know what I'm adding. Now I officially want to add my Chrome, Dice Masters North, OBS, Jitsi Meet. There. Okay. Capture method, leave it as automatic. Okay. The Windows graphics capture is the preferred method if you've got a new enough machine for it. The byte or whatever that is the old method. Automatic, just let it figure out for you. Okay. This is the one that I spend the most time with. Windows title must match. If you don't change, if you have it something else and you accidentally close that tab, that window, whatever, it will just grab something random on your desktop and start showing that to everyone. Bad.
Could be.
So make sure you set that to window title must match. Now, I do not like client area. You can
What is that? Because I
noticed
noticed that.
Difference.
Like, what does
So
that do?
client area is, for Chrome, it's not a huge issue. But for other applications where it's got additional sidebars and overlays, it will remove those.
Okay.
So the client area means this is just what, say like a game capture and like a Steam game, and you can hit the hotkey to bring up the overlay to chat with your friends. If you have this checked, the people on your Twitch stream won't see that overlay.
Got it.
That's my understanding of what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, because I've clicked that button a million times.
Adds additional processing to it because it's having to differentiate between the two. So again, the whole idea is keep that processor doing as little as possible. So uncheck client area. Okay.
Got it.
And that's all there is to that part. But you notice, since I said, not to make it visible, I still don't have anything. That's why we've got this little eye icon right here. It's currently grayed out with a line over it. Means I'm not making it visible. If I click that, all of a sudden it becomes visible. So you save yourself a step by just leaving that checkbox of make source visible when you add it. But I wanted to show you there. You can make it visible and not visible here. So now, hey, look, we've got our Jitsi room available. Okay, that doesn't help us very much right now. I've got a whole lot of extra space around the sides. So the first thing we want to look at now, I can make my Jitsi room over here. I can come up and say full size, view full screen, come back over here, and you'll see my screen size is actually bigger than the 1080. I run 1200. So, if I, try to center it there, I'm chopping off the top and the bottom. Okay. Not entirely great. So next, what you can do, of course, we're all kind of used to these little edge tabs to resize things, and I can go through, but yeah, I'm not going to be able to get that just right. Am I, just not going to do it. It's, you can spend hours trying to figure that out, or they've got the transform tab.
That's my best friend.
Under yes. Under transform, there's a couple of things. The main ones I like are center to screen, so it just automatically centers it. But again, you notice if I'm moving around, because remember I set that snap, it snapped for me. It's boom. I know it's center, so I don't need that, but it's nice to have it very quickly. Okay, I can center vertically, horizontal, or center, but fit to screen and stretch to screen. So fit to screen is going to take it exactly as it is and get it to where it's touching at least 2 of the walls. Okay, 2 parallel walls. So if I fit to screen, it touched the top and the bottom, but I've got the black bars across the side. Okay, not entirely perfect, but it's usable. It's usable. If I said stretch to screen, it's now going to force all 4 sides to match. It doesn't worry about the aspect ratios. You know, be damned. Just make it fit. Okay? So again, since my monitor size is different than my canvas size, this is what I have to do to make it match. So at this point, you're done. You're getting a match. You've got it in here. It's showing up. But I have no audio. This isn't good.
This is probably one of the biggest parts of OBS, because myself, early on, I thought I recorded a whole match, and I did, and then I went back to listen to it, and half the audio was gone. I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate.
Right. So again, remember earlier when I said under settings, under audio, I don't trust OBS at all, and so
yes.
I want all of these disabled.
Yeah.
That's why we currently have no audio, because we haven't told OBS what audio to capture. So the big thing you need is, of course, you need your output, you know, what I'm saying, and I need the response back from the other. So you're going to be creating 2 audios. You're going to create an audio input and an audio output. Now, because I am somewhat OCD, this audio is something I'm probably going to be using over and over and over again, and I don't want to have to keep adding them twice.
I would just mention this very briefly, just because this kind of goes into advanced stuff too.
Right.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do is we're going to create a group, and we're going to call that audio. Okay? And under this audio, I'm going to add an audio input, and I'm going to call this, since it's an input, it's going to be, I'm going to leave them as is. And for me, I want to capture my microphone. Okay? We're going to say okay, and you can kind of see, let me change it to normal mode. Now as I'm talking, you can see that it's bouncing over here. Okay? Again, I want to make sure that that audio input capture is under my audio group. So
just for me, what I do with my audio is I always put the group at the bottom, just because I'm never going to touch it once it's set. Like it's
right. No, and yeah. I was going to get there. Don't worry.
Oh, sorry.
So now again, we got audio input. Now we need an audio output. Okay. And again, for me, for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab what's coming through my headphones. Okay. Now, you saw a whole bunch of stuff there. Yep. And don't worry. That's masterclass stuff. I use a software package called Voice Meter to give me another layer of control of like the audio.
PhD level stuff. We'll get back.
So don't look at what I had there and say, oh my God, what's all that? Just remember, at a bare minimum, you need 2. You need what is outputting, where your microphone is and where your headphones are. Anything I hear on my headphones should be coming through on this.
Isn't the one key that they might want to also notice is that the camera's on there? It might be the output on that. Just make sure you pick one, because I know
I was going to get to capturing the camera as well here in just a little bit. But yeah, if you see other devices in here, those are associated with a source. So you see audio input capture is my audio input capture. Audio output capture is audio output capture. Okay? And so if I make this invisible, it instantly stops. It's no longer here. Once I make it visible, it comes back. And so as Jourdo said, 9 times out of 10, I'm never dealing with my audio, so I have it at the very bottom. And the reason is whatever's on the top of this list is displayed in the foreground. And as you go further down this list, it becomes more to your background. And you're going to end up with, a couple of items in here, and having that audio up at the top just wastes real estate. You're not worried about making any changes to your audio for the most part. Put it down towards the bottom.
So just for interest's sake, like you notice, like when you're talking, you got the light, the bar is bumping, but the output is not.
Yeah, I because I'm using the other thing, so let me change it to the proper device. And so I need to come through that one. And now if you guys talk, you should
Hello?
hear something.
Nope.
All right, hold on.
And then where I ran into one when I have 3 different headsets I use. I actually label all my headsets when they plug in.
Right.
And they're kind of a pain. But again, the main thing is you
Ye-
test it before you start recording. Like
There you
put
go.
that as your checklist on test.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So yeah, now you can see you're getting both. Again, I did that. I captured my Discord audio directly to
Yeah.
simulate it here. But next thing you want to look at here is the VU meters. The VU meters are telling you a couple of different things. You'll see that there's, of course, the bar that's changing color, that's bouncing and going everywhere.
Yeah.
Inside that bar, you'll see these black dots as well. And then outside of the bar, you see currently these red dots. What those are, the bar itself is the current live meter of the volume. The black is the average over the last little bit of time. The red is the peak that you ever hit over that same period of time. The big ones you really want to worry about is this peak. If you're going into the red, you are doing bad. You're blowing out your players' ears and whatnot.
yes.
So you have this volume bar here to start scaling it down. And you'll give it a little bit of time. And so now you notice I'm peaking, but I'm not peaking as bad. So I'll bring it back down a little bit more. And so give it a little bit of time to update here. And again, I'm not looking at where that's currently bouncing. I'm looking at where these red dots are. And so taking a little bit longer to update than I thought it would here.
There you go.
There, okay, so now it's updated. So yeah, I'm still peaking up pretty high. So again, I'll bring myself down a little bit more.
What you're
I
trying to
found-
shoot for is like mid-yellow.
Yeah, I try to shoot for my peaks hitting right around this, what is that, -15 on the voice meter, the VU meter.
Yeah.
Even the other side of it, if one is in the red and the other one's in the green, to bump it up because sometimes the other person's very soft. So you just want to have the both in the same range, or else your sound's going to be off when your playback. Want to be quiet, want to be loud.
Yep, and so you see I'm working on mine. I haven't touched theirs yet, and they're still peaking out. So I need to bring theirs down as well. And so if they start talking, we'd see a change
Hello,
on theirs.
testing.
Bring mine down as well.
What does our sound sound?
I think Reg is louder than I am.
Okay.
Yeah, Reg is louder than you, but again, since I'm capturing from Discord, I could modify his volume in Discord if I wanted to go that route as well.
Yeah.
So
Mine's echoing from the East Coast.
so again, you can see, I've got theirs pretty dialed in. They're just peaking into that red. So maybe bring them down just a little bit more. Mine, I still have to bring down some more. And again, what we're trying to do here is to get our volumes to be the same on the output. And this is something, depending on how the stream is going, someone gets, I'm talking pretty normal, but, all of a sudden I shift and I'm now coming real close to my mic here and you see it instantly bumped it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm back to where I normally sit and whatnot. That's going to change. There's nothing you can do to really stop that. It's just something you kind of have to keep an eye on throughout it, or bring them down just a little bit lower than you would hope, and have the person on the other end have to bring up the volume on their side.
Audio is the
much
biggest.
rather.
It's definitely the biggest challenge I've found with recording and streaming. Like, audio is the hardest part to get right.
Yes, you're gonna spend more time on audio than you are on anything else other than creating an automated overlay.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, maybe Ryan, just to show is how you put it to the right side, like because that's the thing I'm looking at the most when the stream. I flip back and forth.
So
I look at that thing all the time, make sure the sound is right or off.
right. So now just to quickly show what this is the bare minimum. I'm playing in the match over in my Jitsi room. I'm looking at Jourdo's screen. Now I'm looking at my screen. I'm looking at Jourdo's screen. Why was it not switching over on that? My window capture crapped out on me for some reason. So Let's go to the properties. I'm going to select a different thing real fast. Come back. Okay. So yeah, for whatever reason, it stopped capturing. I apologize. But so now I'm playing, I'm switching between my cameras. I'm doing this in my Jitsi, room that I'm playing in with my opponent. Have a good day. Now, one of the reasons we went with Jitsi, you can see right now I'm pressing, going up and down between the two of them to switch our cameras. Jitsi has hotkeys. So I can press 0 on my keyboard, switch. Jourdo was the first person to enter the room, so I press 1, it switches to him. So now I can come in here, I can hide that sidebar, move that off, let everything disappear, and now I can use my hotkeys on my keyboard to switch and not really have to pay too much attention to what's going on or use my mouse. So this is base level how you would get to play.
Yep.
Now, what Reg was just talking about is you'll notice, you've got space on the side and everything else is kind of jammed down here at the bottom. And there's a lot of wasted space at the bottom, if you ask me. All of these are docks that you can move around. So my preferred method is I like taking my scenes, moving them to the side, taking my sources, moving them to the side. I usually have more sources than I have scenes, so I kind of do a 1/3, 2/3 split there. Then I'll take my audio, and I'll move my audio over to this side. Now, that's a whole lot of wasted space here. If you right click here, you can go to vertical, and now you've got that. So you've got, even now, because we've made it longer, we've got a little bit more finite control. We can see more exactly where it's falling in on those lines.
But a lot of this is personal preference too, right?
Yeah, it's personal preference. But, we've talked a lot about the stats of dropping frames and things like that. Where do you see any of that? Well, what you can do on...
I was going to say, I see them just fine. I'm looking at it right now.
Any one of these, you can right-click and say Stats. Now, it popped it up over on another screen here. It'll pop it up. What you can do is grab this, and let's put it down. I like putting it down right smack dab in the middle. Okay? And then what I'll do, I tend not to use scene transitions very much. So you kind of figure out where that middle line is. Make my scene transitions fairly small. I don't need that big for all those buttons. Make those a little smaller. Now I've got my stats here on all this stuff. So, you notice currently I'm inactive. If I come in and I say, start streaming, remember I had the network bandwidth test mode enabled. So this is that warning that's coming up with that, reminding you, hey, you're in network test mode. No one's going to see you're about to do. See, you got a text on here. I already started cursing.
Yeah, I was going to say I missed the bleep there. I'm just impressed.
Yep,
I'm not
sorry.
the first one.
No, I will always be the first one. So you'll see here, it's changed to live. Another thing to look at here, we've got this green bar live here, and we're looking at our kilobits per second that we're outputting. So again, I set mine to that 6,000. So it's sending out 6,000 up to Discord, or not Discord, up to Twitch. Have a good day. These right here, these two right here, frames missed due to render lag and skipped frames due to encoder lag. You want to see these stay white. If these start changing colors on you to anything other than white, that means the experience of your users is being impacted.
Yeah.
Render lag is basically rendering it here on the machine, drawing it here in the preview window. Skip frames due to encoder lag is, again, that encoder sending up to Twitch. So, the frames missed to render lag, the first thing, if you're seeing that go high, once, building it, leave it like this. But when you're ready to go live, you can right-click and say, uncheck enable preview. Yeah, I no longer have this, but, I don't need that anymore to go live once everything's there. I'm modifying the stuff through my Jitsi to go back and forth. Have a good day. I still have my audio controls to monitor that. I can still easily change between my start, my match, my, all those. I'm not rendering it for me to see. Okay. And it has to render it before it can transmit it. So again, if your rendering lag is bad, that's the first thing to help with. You know, if it's the encoder lag, this is where we talked about lowering it from 1080 to 720, changing the, from software to hardware, changing it from the quality to performance, things like that.
The stats bar. Sorry, we have a question from Monkey. Where are the stats
Is that-
bar? Are they like? Are you talking about the
Where's
thing?
saying how to get that stats bar
Oh,
where
wait,
you're in
can
the
you
Okay,
just-
so anywhere on any one of these, you can right click and you will see, so you notice I clicked on the title where it says, I right clicked and you see stats. So I'm just adding the stats in, and normally it will add it as a loose window. So you can have this completely separate, not even as part of your OBS. Most of us leave OBS up where we can see it on a separate monitor. So at that point, I integrate it down here at the bottom. That's just my personal preference. But to get the stats,
put it where you want it. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It is good to have though.
Mm-hmm. Now you also notice in here chat. The only reason I have chat is because I linked it using I logged into my actual Twitch account. If I use the API key, chat wouldn't be an option. So, chat, I would do that, and it brings up the Twitch chat for my stream. And again, I can integrate that over here. So notice I overlaid it on top of my audio mix. So now they're tabs. If I don't like that, I can pull out the audio mixer, come in and get it to go on top. Or I could bring this out and go on top. So all four sides of it are usable. You notice as I get over there, it kind of expands out and gives you that little blue area. That lets you know you're about to dock it into that section. But, if you want, you can pull it out and leave it as a completely separate window. You can tab it over another one, or you can, have it,
Yeah, there's lots of ways
sorry,
you can
my
play
microphone's right inside that line there. This is all infinitely customizable to however you want. I'm just kind of showing you how I prefer it to be.
I honestly don't use the chat feature in there. Like I said, I had it and then
No,
disappeared.
most of us don't.
Yeah.
I just wanted to show it as an option there.
Is the chat live or is it on the delay what they see?
No, that's the live chat to feed back to you.
Yeah. So it's whatever's
So
happening
again,
on Twitch
that way you
happens
don't
there.
have to have Twitch open. You don't have to have, you can, I prefer to, I have Twitch running and I'll pop out the chat for my Twitch and I'll monitor it there.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. I do like Twitch to be open just so I can see if something's gone haywire.
Exactly.
I can't hear it, but
yeah. So that is the bare minimum. Now, I did make one mistake here, and neither of you guys caught it here. I added all this to my start scene, not my match
you did
scene.
too.
So there's a real easy way of doing this. I can grab this. Oh, no, it's not letting me do it. So that's
Just didn't
fine.
want to insult you or anything on there. Where
Yeah, we didn't
So
want
what
to
I can do
embarrass
is
you
I
on
can
live
put-
TV.
Hey, I
All the
embarrass
viewers.
myself, not a problem. So if I delete them here, since they're not used anywhere else, they become completely deleted. Well, I've already set them up. I just put them in the wrong place. So let's add them here. And I'm going to add a group. Well, you notice I have an existing audio group already. So I'm going to add that, and it brings everything that's in that group with it at the same time. And then let's add in, we had a no, not video capture, sorry. Window capture. Window capture. And I add my existing Jitsi Player 1. Boom. Now you notice in here and in here, they look very different. The transforms that we applied stay local to that scene. They don't carry over. So if I want the exact same transforms on it, I can come over to this scene, come to that one, right click on it, transform, copy transform, come to match, right click on it, go to transform, paste transform, and it applies the same transform to it. So now it's 100% the same, switching between those two. Okay, so now I can come in here and I can clean this up. I can remove those because I put them in the wrong place.
So
You know,
one thing I
so
would show
you might
them,
ask, what do you want in your start and your stop?
That's
for
up
the
to
game
you.
room. We've got our intro video, and other people have a stream starting soon stream, things like that. Again, customize it to you, but I am always a fan of having just those three. When you go live, have something. You can have the logo. Or sorry, I did that completely wrong. Going too fast here. I want to add here. I normally actually have the sources on top, the scenes on bottom. That's messing with me. Add an image, logo, browse to an image file, and I will grab our logo crest. Now, you notice here one thing: unload image when not showing. Every single source that you apply takes up memory. So if I'm not using it, do I want it to stay in memory, or do I want to take the small hit when I bring it back to load it up? Well, these image files are pretty small. I'm going to go ahead and say unload it. My general preference is to unload everything that I can when I'm not using it, so that I'm not wasting processing power or anything like that.
Right.
Okay. There are a couple of scenarios though where you need to leave it loaded even if it's not visible. And that's more in the advanced and master.
Yeah.
So we've got that there. And I don't like it in the corner like that. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to go transform, and I'm going to say fit to screen. Boom. Now I've got my nice start logo. Or did I put that on stop? Yep, I put it on stop. Okay, no problem. I come in here. I change to my start scene, image, add existing logo. Now I can have two, it's here, and I can do the same thing, or I can copy the transform from the other one and paste it over. It's fairly simple to do, since I did just the one thing. Now, I didn't do a whole lot, set it to fit to screen. And now my start and my stop screens are 100% the same right now. Well, that's fine and everything, but let's add some text. And let's say welcome. So select your font. I like my Comic Access. Let's make it, somewhat readable.
I find with fonts, what I like to do is I make them as huge. Like I make them big, so they're going to be, you can always shrink them down. I don't know if that's a good way to do it or a bad way to do it.
I try to get them as appropriately sized as possible. Okay. So in this scenario, it's so small, it's blowing it up. It's a huge issue. So let's bring it up to 36 point font. You notice how it kind of clears it up there. That's going to be the same thing. So as you said, it's better to go too large and then downsize it by grabbing the bars versus making it too small and try to blow it up. Because you saw what happened there in the preview, how it kind of didn't look good. So, and that looks great. Welcome, until I put it over something like that.
Yeah.
Now I can't really read it at all. Well, we can fix that. Of course, I'm going to rename this because I can't seem to type today at all. And now we're going to come back into the properties of it. And this is, something we talked about yesterday. You've got your color. And now you can add an outline. Now you've got your outline color. Currently, it's kind of silly. Your outline color is white as well. Why would I have white text with white color? Kind of silly. So let's change the outline color. You'll notice, boom, I've now got a small little outline on it. I can say okay. And all of a sudden now, even though it's sitting on top of white text, I can still read that welcome. So, boom. And so if there's, come in here, add text. And this is where you can start customizing it to be you.
So just for argument's sake, why don't you just copy that other one into the stop and use that?
Right. So I could do that. And so there's two ways to copy here.
I just want to
And
hopefully you make the mistake that I made the first time I
Yep.
did it.
Well, so let's come in here and let's copy. Let's go to stop, and we're gonna go ahead and paste. Well, wait, there's two pastes, reference and duplicate. So what this is, reference links the two of them. So any changes to one will happen with the other. Whereas duplicate makes an exact copy of it, and any changes to one do not reference the other. So I will make the mistake here that Jourdo was hoping me to make, and I'll reference. And I come in here and I'm like, great, okay, I want this to now say, thanks for watching. And I come in and snap it there at the middle. All right, great. Let's go back to my start stream. Wait, what happened?
Yeah, I
See?
remember that happened. It's like, ah!
Yep. Because I made it a reference, the change to the one impacted the other. So what I really need to do is come back here, delete this one. Where is my... I keep looking for delete, not remove.
Oh, I do that all the time too. It drives me bananas.
And what we wanted to do instead was paste a duplicate. Okay? Now it says thanks for watching because, again, I changed it here. So let's come back here. Properties. Welcome. Boom. And there's the middle. And I come down to stop. And it's still thanks for watching. And you notice it named it welcome to here. Boom. So let's rename this because welcome to is not very helpful. And thanks. Okay. Now, what if, see, since my logo isn't, it's got a transparent background on it, it's not blocking it. You know, so that didn't work well. But let's talk about the locks here real fast. I can accidentally, as I'm just doing something, grab something and mess stuff up.
All the time.
Luckily, I do have, you know, I can very easily, since this one was simple for me, come in and reset, you know, fit to screen. But that is such a pain in the butt. And that's where these lock icons come in to save you. I can now lock my logo. Nothing I can do up here can interact with this. It's not going anywhere. You know, since I have not locked my thanks, I can still move my thanks around. You know, I can still do all that stuff. But if I lock it, nothing I can do here will interact with it.
I'm a huge proponent of the locks. Like, as soon as you've got it how you like it, lock it, because you will screw it up 100%.
Exactly. You want them to be locked. If you don't, you know, there's a couple of occasions when we get into doing the overlays where you don't want them to be locked. But for the most part, you want to have everything locked once you have it where you want it.
Yep. That's just a safety
So,
feature.
I think that's the best of this whole thing is the locks. I've found it's a good thing.
It's just heartbreaking when you spend so much time on it and then you just do something stupid and then it takes you forever to get it back.
Especially without the snap and stuff, and you're sitting there trying to get it exactly on the left and right side lined up. You move it, and you're trying to move the wall, and it's like, the whole screen moves, and you're like,
or you accidentally grab you move one thing by mistake. You try to grab it to move it back, and you grab something else and move that, and now you've got this huge cluster of multiple things all out of whack.
Yeah.
One of the big ones, I bet you anyone who tries their first ones they're going to do is when you have a name, and the name is from a 5-character name to a 7-character name, you change it, and then you come in OBS, and then you move it to left, and you go, shoot, I just moved the whole window capture.
Yep.
I guarantee we're going to run into that because you have to unlock it in order to move it, and then when you do that, you accidentally move the whole screen, and you'll sit there and go, damn it, that's exactly what they were just talking about.
So now one thing, again, we only have one capture going on here right now.
How far?
So,
I guess how far down the rabbit hole do we want to go? Because we're sitting at.
I was gonna show how to add a second of it. So integrating a browser source, and then I was gonna show how to transform it so that the play mats were, I'm gonna call it So again, this is the bare minimum, and this is controlled by me changing the source here in my Jitsi. Okay.
Which ideally you don't want to be messing with that.
No, if I'm playing, I want to leave it on Jourdo's mat and focus on that. Okay. And there's two ways you can go about it, of creating a separate scene or having one scene and having what we call the head-to-head. And I'm going to show you the head-to-head method, and as a homework assignment, you can figure out how to turn it into a separate scene. So,
Well, that's not a bad idea. There you go, homework.
You know, because everything that you're going to see here is the same. You know, just figure out how to do it in a separate scene. The way we're going to do this, I know previously a lot of times what we would have people do is that we would have them join a second room. And Reg, do you want to mute yourself in Jitsi real fast?
Echo. Go. I just joined it accidentally. Sorry.
No, you're fine. We would have one player join two rooms, and you would do two different window captures. And yes, it will work that way. Yes, you can do it that way, but it's not the best way. What is a much better way is to use a browser source. So remember earlier I called it Jitsi Player 1. Let's call this Jitsi Player 2. Okay. Let's mark this make this source visible. It's going to come in. It's going to ask for the URL. So we've got our room here that we've joined. And what I'm going to do is come in, if I can get all that, and paste in our room. Now, next, I want to make sure the height and width matches my canvas size. So I remember it as 1920 and 1080. Okay. Now, if you don't remember it, that's fine. We can use a transform and we can set it to fit to screen and you'll be fine. But take the time, set it here, make yourself a little, it's a little easier. You want to shut down the source when not visible?
We want
Actually,
that.
no, we're going to leave that alone. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Yep. And we don't want to refresh the, we're not going to do it. Just leave it alone. We're going to say, okay. And boom, it's joined. But I can't do anything with that. That's not what I want. I want to get rid of these side things and all this other stuff. Okay. So first off, I'm going to just reorganize here a little bit. Because this is a browser window within OBS, I now have this new thing called Interact. Come in here, it pops it out, and that is that browser window here. So I can now select me. This is the OBS that joined it. So here's me that joined it in my browser. Here's OBS that joined it there. Here's Jourdo. Here's Reg. So say it's a match between me and Reg. So I'll leave this one set to Reg. Okay. And then I want to hide the side there. If I can get that little button clicked. And then I'm going to close this. Okay. So player 1 is on Matt.
I think you were on something.
Nope, because I have.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
I had player 1 always visible. I wasn't turning it off. So player 1's on Matt. Player 2's on Reg. Okay. So now let's do this. I need to first unlock both of them because I'm going to interact with them. I'm going to transform, and I want to rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise or actually clockwise for this one because I did that to Matt's. Here's Reg's, here's Matt's. Let's now center this. Again, I've got that snap, boom. We're going to come over to Reg's and we're going to transform. We're going to, since we did clockwise on Jourdo's, we're going to go counterclockwise. All right. And so at a bare minimum, I now have the two of them going, having a good day. So if I want to change my Jitsi room to me, say it's a match between me and Reg, there we go. So I've got the two play mats going there, having it, going to town. Now you notice it's not perfectly lined up. You can spend the time to get it lined up more in the center.
I think
and all
that might be a
that.
good advanced class thing too, because I created some
Yeah.
tools to help with this, because it is a pain in the butt
Yeah,
to get right.
I mean, I just wanted to point out you can, move things around. There's also
You can also crop.
yeah, I have the top bar here, so I can hold down my Alt key, grab this, and get rid of that. And now I can bring that back in, and boom. So, again, in advanced class, we'll get into more manipulating of the individual sources. But from a player's point of view now, I'm here. I've got my Jitsi map. I'm watching my opponent, and have a good day. If I need to interact, I'm talking to them through Jitsi, and I'm capturing that audio in OBS, and have a good day. So this one over here is coming from my window, my Chrome, that I'm interacting and doing everything. This one is literally just another browser source inside of OBS that I can manipulate separately. So again, I'm going to come back to this one, interact. And I want to point out how I did one thing. If I went to settings and profile, notice I gave it this name. This is the name that shows up in over your video on there. So this, whenever this joins a Jitsi room, you'll see it as CRGR OBS. Okay, my Chrome, I have it when I join a room, I show up as Gilmax, because that's the name everyone knows me. That's that's where my camera is going to come from. So this is just kind of nice to let people know which camera they should switch to if they're trying to, see me, or if they need to mute me or things like that. You can give them different names, because this is using the OBS browser.
Yeah.
And this is a cookie in that. So now say we need to refresh that though. Again, it's in here. If we go to the properties at the very bottom, we can refresh the cache of that page. And it'll force it to reload the page. So if something locked up in the room or whatnot, we can do that. Of course, you will have to tell it to do that, get rid of that sidebar if you're wanting to make sure it doesn't show up. In this view, that sidebar would not show up. You don't need. And that right there is your base minimum.
Yeah, for a two-player game where you want to do minimal camera work, this is it. You don't need to do anything else.
Yep. At this point, the only thing I'm doing is I'm changing from my start stream to match, and once the match is over, I change to stop, and I'm done. Once the match is played, I'm not worried about changing cameras or changing scenes, or on my OBS, or not my OBS, my Jitsi that I'm playing against my opponent. I'm not having to worry about switching cameras or anything like that. So
one thing that I like with this scene in particular is the mirrored image that you get a lot, because it's your
you get the face to face, but there could be a problem. What if Reg's playmat is upside down to yours?
Yeah.
What I can do is under transform. You notice I go straight to the transform. I don't try to manipulate things a whole lot. I just go straight to transform. I can rotate 180 degrees. Well, let's say the text is still reversed, because that's a bad thing that happens quite a bit with a lot of the webcam softwares, is the people get it to where it looks great for them, but they forget that when it transmitted, it mirrors it. Well, then I can come in and go to transform, and I can flip vertical. So you have flip and rotates that will help correct that.
Yeah.
And make it, from your stream point of view, both of them look like it would be sitting at a table next to each other.
Yeah, I encourage you, if you're going to stream, spend a little time on this before you start, before you hit the start streaming. Just get it all set up. If you're recording, whatever, you can clip it as needed. But I don't know. It always drives me bananas when you see the mirrored text on the playmats. It's stupid, but whatever. It bugs me. So I don't know. I
agree 100% there. I'm not a big fan of the text not being readable and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
again, I just want to point out the whole time we've been doing this here, I've been streaming. Everything's been going on great. I'm sitting at 0.8% CPU utilization, and that's because I'm offloading to my GPU.
Yeah.
And so as such, I have 1 frame missed due to render lag. Again, this number is going to go up. You're not worried about the number per se. You're worried about the color of this. This will start changing colors. And like I said, as long as it's white like this, you are fine. If it changes colors to something else, then you've got to investigate, figure out what you can do to get that. Because now you're having problems either processing the data fast enough to send it, or you can't send the data fast enough to keep it visually to people.
Yeah. So I think that's might be a good stopping point here, because we've got the audio, we got the audio in, we got the audio out, we've got your basic.
Well, do we want to give a preview of what a masterclass might cover? Just to give them a little teaser.
Like we're talking scoreboards, things like that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I can pull this up here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So here's.
I mean, yeah, you can go.
Player 1 with all this, and then I can pull it. So then notice here's my mouse, guys. I'm not doing anything with my mouse, and player 1 loses some life. Player 2 wins the game. I can turn on a clock. Again, all of that's going on, controlled completely separately from within OBS, but all being shown here in OBS.
Yeah, once you learn shortcuts, oh my God, your life will change.
Yeah. So again, just a quick preview teaser of what we're building you towards.
Yeah. I think next time what we might cover is let's make it look a little nicer. Let's show you how you get some names on the board, how you get some scores on the board.
Yeah, we won't cover the scoreboard that you and I are using, but we'll use something like scoreboard edit or something like that. Reg kind of talked about this a little bit, where you're pointing things to files, and so as the files update, the images on the screen will update based on them and stuff like that. So
but I think that's a good one, where we can make a quick and dirty overlay just to kind of give you something to work with, and it's very easy to make one.
And we'll also, in the next one, we'll integrate. We'll show you how to get these sources. So the cards in.
Yes, the cards. The cards.
All the different layouts now that they've got, because now there's not just one. Those plugins are really neat that you have for the scoreboards and stuff. But I mean, if people just want to learn, if they do the text, they did the welcome across the top, they can just put that in, and that's the easiest way to do it.
See, I mean,
you can create a functional overlay with everything we showed you today.
Yes, you can do the scores with what we've seen so far.
Using text and everything, have a good day. It's functional.
Yeah.
It's not going to be very usable or user-friendly, I should say, but it's functional.
Yeah.
And, we will continue, again, this is the base course. This just kind of got you going. This is what we're going to build from.
So what we'll plan for next time is make it look a little nicer, show you how to do some scores, and I don't know, maybe stick with that. Is that enough for a second class?
I think integrating the scoreboard, the initial scoreboard, and the Dice Master sources will be good for the next one. I think after that we'll probably go into advanced audio, and then the final one will be an automated overlay.
I think another thing we can also say that people can cover is show how they can customize it a tiny bit further, is because they're going to notice with these windows right now, they're just looking at 2 gray boxes. But when you actually have the mat on there, you're going to see that it's stretched or it's not showing exactly. And when you put it right side, you're going to have gaps on the left and right side. And that's where you get to be creative, do whatever you want with image overlays. And that's what we can show people, the basics. I mean, everyone's going to be different, and that's what makes it unique.
And that's the fun part.
Today was very much me talking quite a bit. Once we start getting into the images and things like that, that's where my knowledge disappears. If you look at our stream, to give you an idea here, we look at ours. None of these are images in the overlay. I'm literally in HTML. I'm drawing polygons in color fill.
Whereas I've let's see if I can pull up
Jourdo's is full animated graphics and things like that. So
Yeah, so I've got
Jourdo and Reg will take the seat as far as once we start getting into the customized overlays.
And what's good is
Um,
Jourdo likes to have his images all over the place. I'd like to actually say, I have a full picture and I do it very basic in Paintbrush and say, here, edit your picture and upload it. And it's
Right.
basically, a video game overlay. It's left side of the screen. You can't put anything on it because the overlay's on it. So
yeah. So that part of it's purely up to the person creating the video what you want at that point in time. Like you can go very simple, you can go very complicated, or somewhere in between. But I think that'll come a little later. But I think we've covered the basics now. And
I mean, now you guys have been monitoring the chat, not myself. So I don't know if anyone in chat has had questions or comments that we need.
I think you kind of covered them as we went. Monkey had a few.
Kind of answering as we go. Monkey had a bunch. I mean, I know Monkey was in the chat from yesterday, and he had a lot of his questions were answered. I was hoping a couple others would show up in there. Peter was in yesterday, but he's obviously it's late over there.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I mean,
well, then we'll need to make sure that we take this and post it up to YouTube as well.
Yeah, I'll get this pulled down right away and cut up and try to make some sense of it for people. And and then use this as a starting point. If people like this idea, and you have questions for us kind of for next time, we're happy to share, happy to help. The more questions we get, the more we can kind of put this together for what you guys want.
This was very off the cuff. I know we Arj asked if I could put something together to kind of show how to make sure we didn't get echoed audio.
Yeah.
Because that seemed to be a big issue when we first switched over to Jitsi.
Yes.
And a lot of it was trying to get the head-to-head view in within OBS, and it there's some learning curves to get through.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
So, keeping it at this level, this simple like this works. You can see we've got the audio working just fine. You can add your additional overlays on top of this and everything.
Yeah. So I think that's. Oh, go ahead, Ridge.
I'm saying if anyone who is watching this, because Mike just asked, post to YouTube. It's more of if you guys see any questions on it. I mean, you can post in the OBS chat. You can reach out to any of us. We're there to help. And I mean, I know if people ask me questions, I mean, I'll come online and work you through how to do it. It won't take us long, especially if you have a simple question. We can push in the right direction.
Yeah,
we're always here. That's what makes this community so good too.
And I encourage people to start producing stuff, start putting stuff out there, because the more that this game is out there, the more people are going to see it, and the more people might play it.
And again, Reg, you mentioned in the CR Gameroom Discord server, we've got a OBS chat. We actually have a content creator section, but one of the big ones in there is our OBS chat. So if you've got any issues with OBS, anything like that, feel free to ask them in there. And most of the time, we've been able to answer the question straight there in the chat for people. We started getting a couple questions of just, hey, how do I set it up and things like that. That's not an easy one to just kind of put in the chat.
Well, that's kind of what kind of pushed me to do this,
Yeah, push for this video, along with the question from Arj of, hey, can we get it to where you put out something that shows how to get the echoed audio, things like that. So, I think we've got the first level of it pretty well there.
Yeah, I'm happy with what we covered today, and I hope we didn't blow too many people out of the water, because some of it is a little techie. And just stick to the basics, and like what I'll try to do with the videos, maybe chop it up a little bit, so you can kind of go to the sections that make the most sense for you, and
or at least maybe in the description put a time time mark link.
Sorry,
to
that's
go
what I
to
meant.
the different sections. So it's one video, but you've got the different time codes to the different specific sections. So.
Yeah. So
I will say the biggest mistake I see most people doing is not properly utilizing profiles and scene collections to their advantage.
Sorry, Chris just asked us to start
after
over.
a little while. Yeah, after a little while, it becomes unmanageable.
Oh yeah.
Reg, yours isn't even the worst offender I've ever seen. I've had it to where people had so many scenes and sources in a single collection, it was crashing their computer just trying to load OBS.
Well, that's the big thing with OBS. The less it has to do, the happier you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the more
So
things
again, you know,
take off the
I've
plate.
got my tutorial one here, and it's just got these little things, so it's not loading much. You know, I go to, you know, the dice master, you know, the CRGR one. I've got a lot more scenes. I've got a lot more overlays. This is taking a little bit more memory, you know, to be able to handle this. Again, you know, my machine's purpose built for streaming, so I'm not dropping any frames. You know, my CPU utilization is non-existent here as far as what it's doing, because again, I'm sending everything over to my GPU, and I've, you know, got a very, very heavy GPU to be able to handle all of it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
you know, and again, you can see you start getting different things in here for your audio.
Yeah, we'll
and
get
stuff
into
like
we'll
that,
get into
you know.
that audio next time, because that's where
You know,
things start going
like I
haywire.
said, audio is audio is going to be its own class on its own.
Yeah, I may skip that class.
No, you're not allowed.
I'm gonna get a sick note from my doctor.
Yeah, negative. Yeah, audio is the hardest part once you start trying to integrate, you know, alert sounds and bringing in Spotify background music, and, you know, maybe having a external commentator from Discord, you know, being able to we'll cover being able to do all of that. But
It's
you know,
doable, but my lord, is it?
it's doable, but you're gonna have to wrap your head around a couple of other things. And so my biggest suggestion is start simple.
Yeah. So I think what we did today
Start.
gets you on the board,
Yep.
and that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And then how do we
Mhm.
make it pretty from there? Well, we'll help you out next time with that. And
Yep.
I think thank you very much, Ryan. Like you're probably one of the best people in the community for this stuff. I really personally I really appreciate everything you've done for me, and I know everyone out there is probably just as appreciative, because you are Mr. Tech Support for us online guys.
Well, I appreciate that, and you know, I've been fortunate enough to you know, to be able to take a personal passion of mine, of technology and just tinkering in general, and my love for not only the Dice Masters game but the Dice Masters community, and combine the two of them, and you know, what I hope is a betterment for both. So it you know, it's gotten me to, you know, be at the Worlds and, you know, help stream the Worlds event, and, you know, now the Origins replacement event. You know, we'll be putting that on and whatnot, and so hopefully I'll be able to continue and just get everything to a point, and, you know, see where everyone else takes it, because
That's what I'm
I
excited
love
about.
being I love to be the guy that has stand on my shoulders and take it to the next level.
Yeah.
You know, what you've done with the overlay package that I've, you know, built and whatnot, and see what you've done with it is absolutely fantastic. And what I want to see is what the next step that people come up with is.
Oh yeah,
You
I
know,
think like the sky's the limit here. Like there's so many
yeah,
different ways to display this game. Even today I was playing around with some sample. I didn't know how far we'd get today, so I was kind of making some sample overlays. I'm going, oh, that looks kind of cool. I might try that now.
yeah. I mean, there's a whole lot you can do. You know, I I'm not a graphical person. I'm not a graphics design person. Nothing. You know, my overlay that you're seeing right here, you know, I built very kludgely, but it's
It
very
works.
functional.
It works. It
You
does
know,
what you
it
need to
does
do.
everything I needed to do. And, you know, Matt, you saw it there at Worlds, and, you know, your jaw kind of was like, okay, wait, what is he doing? And you and I spent probably 2 or 3 hours there at Worlds talking about this stuff, and
That was
went
eye
home
opener
with
for
it.
me. Yeah.
You know, you started running with it, and you came back to me. You're like, I have some questions. Do you mind? I'm like, dude, by all means, hit me up with questions. What are you trying to do? Because I want to see what's next.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, by all means, everyone, you know, take this to the next level.
Yeah.
You know, we're here to teach you what we know, so you can apply you to it and take it to the next level.
Absolutely. So again, thank you for all your help today. Thank you to everyone who's watching, and for those who kind of showed up a little bit late. We will get this up on YouTube as fast as humanly possible. I will not let this one slide in my in my to-do pile. I'll actually work on it. And I think that wraps it up. So if you haven't given us a follow, we're trying to get to that affiliate, not affiliate. Yeah, affiliate.
Yeah, affiliate.
Affiliate. That's what we're shooting for. We are currently at 43 followers. We need 7 more. And don't make me make fake accounts.
7 more followers, guys. Come on, tell a friend of a friend. That's all you need to do.
Log into your kids'
get 7 more
accounts.
followers and get these guys to where you can start subscribing to them, and showing them their love that they need.
Yeah, and I think that covers everything. Any other closing comments, gentlemen?
I'm good, Reg.
Oh, I'm good. It's that every time we watch one of these things, we learn ourselves even some stuff.
Well, that's what I. That's, at the start, they're going, "Oh, I don't do that. I should probably fix that."
Well, actually, when I did it yesterday, I know I was going through it, and then Ryan's like correcting me on a couple of things. I'm like, hey, and I look at my version, I'm like 2 versions behind, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have it in groups. And now, as we're doing this video, I've got all my groups set up now, which is good.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah,
so,
that was when they added groups to this. I did a little bit of a happy dance. The first call Matt and I had a couple weeks ago where we started working on something. I'm like, okay, before we even get into your problem, here's groups. We're gonna do this real fast. Let's get you set up. And Matt was very much like, oh, that makes it so much easier to keep these things organized.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can see I've got over here several groups on there to keep that list minimized as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but again, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for participating. And like I said, if you got questions that you want us to cover for next time, I think this is a good kind of series to kind of get people doing this. And the more that's out there, the happier I'm going to be.
And this is what I love doing, so I hope we can keep this going for a little while. So
sounds good to me.
We may switch it between DM North and the CR Gameroom Twitch channels.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I hope we keep this going.
Yeah, this kind of stuff is great because it's helping people who want to do this. It's helping them get the skills to do it. And I know when I started, I knew nothing. And I stumbled my way through it. I wish this was around when I started.
One of the things wanted to... Go ahead.
Go ahead, Reg.
I said one of the things I want to see on Twitch that we do more is actual gameplay too.
Yes.
And it's good when we can challenge another game room. That would be fun to do. So,
yeah.
And again, we've got a group of 4 in ours. You guys got 4 or 5 in your group. It's good to do that where we can just stream and not so much that, but have the other 8 of us heckling in the background, which is what I think everyone will just love to watch.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and so I mean, I've been streaming Dice Master games since 2016 on various different channels over the years, and seeing where it started to where it is now,
it's night and day.
Insane.
Yeah,
the difference, and right now I think we're on the verge of a huge transformation in what way we've done it before and where it's going.
Yeah.
And I say that not because I have some insider knowledge of something that's about to happen. No. Just my general knowledge of how technology works. I see things are kind of coming to that boiling point and something's about to happen. And I'm just excited to be here to see whoever it is do whatever it is.
Yeah, I look forward to it. So on that note, guys, I think we're going to call it an afternoon or an evening, depending where you are, or early morning for Monkey, I'm assuming. I don't even know what time it is over there. Thank you everyone again, and we'll see you next time.